So I've come across something very disturbing. Google is training AI to discriminate against men. This is a course I signed up for on Google EDX. It's called Google AI for Everybody, and it's basically intended as an introductory course to AI for those who want to pursue AI as a career. And I found in the chapter about ethics in AI that they are in fact discriminating against men. Let's take a look. Now, I'm going to try and get through this part kind of quickly because it is a little bit boring, but it's important to understand. The course from Google takes you to this page here, using statistics from the University of California in Irvine, analyzing the 1999 census, and it's about whether or not someone should qualify for a loan, and if an AI program should recognize if someone should qualify for a loan or get denied a loan. The top paragraph, now it's the bottom paragraph that's really important, but it's important to read the first two just to kind of get an understanding. So let's start from the top. Back in the Performance and Fairness tab, we can set an input feature or set of features which slice into data. And don't worry if this is confusing or complicated. Don't worry, it'll all make sense by the end. For example, setting this to sex allows us to see the breakdown of model performance on male data points versus female data points. We can see that the model is more accurate, has less false positives and false negatives on females than males. We can also see that the model predicts high income for females much less than it does for males. 10% of the time for females versus 28% for males. Now, already we're getting into the problem of using the wage gap as data. Now, there's a lot I could say about the wage gap and why it's a very flawed data set to use. First of all, we now know that young women are out earning young men. And this is a trend that's been going on for a while now. So using the wage gap from 1994, which if I'll put the link down below, you can see they're using the data from 94, really is obsolete nowadays. Secondly, regarding the wage gap, and I'll get into this in a little bit, remember that millionaires and billionaires like Bill Gates and Elon Musk really offset the mean. But don't worry, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, just keep reading, it'll make sense. Second paragraph. Imagine a scenario where this simple income classifier was used to approve or reject a loan application. Not a realistic example, but it illustrates the point. Well, why is it not a realistic example? Why wouldn't it be? Anyway, in this case, 28% of men from the test data set have their loans approved, but only 10% of women have theirs approved. If we wish to ensure that men and women get their loans approved the same percentage of the time, that is a fairness concept called demographic parity. Keep that in mind. One way to achieve demographic parity would be to have different classification thresholds for males and females in our model. So they're blatantly saying a way to achieve equality would be to have different standards, different rules, different thresholds for males and females in our model. That's pretty blatant and direct. Anyway, you'll notice there is a button on the tool labeled demographic parity. When we press this button, the tool will take the cost ratio into account and come up with the ideal thresholds for men and women that will achieve demographic parity over the test data set. Again, being very clear, we're going to change the rules and change the standards, which means discriminating against men. They don't word it that way, they don't say it that way, but that's what it means in order to achieve equality over time. Now, the last paragraph really shows why that just doesn't work. Okay, so this is the last paragraph. This is the important one. This is the one to really pay attention to. And I made a mistake before when I said the 1999 census. It was the 1994 census. But anyway, here is that last paragraph. In this case, demographic parity can be found with both groups getting loans 16% of the time by having the male threshold at 0.78 and the female threshold at 0.12. So that means the male threshold is 6 times higher than the female threshold. So it's 6 times higher for a man to get a loan than a woman. Because of the vast difference in the properties of the male and female training data in this 1994 census dataset, we need quite different thresholds to achieve demographic parity. Now, here's the important part. Take a listen. Notice how, with the high male threshold, there are many more false negatives than before, And with the low female threshold, there are many more false positives than before. So let's read that again. False negatives and false positives, what does that mean? Notice how with the high male threshold, there are many more false negatives than before. That means men who should qualify but are now being denied because of the algorithm. And with the low female threshold, there are many more false positives than before, meaning women who shouldn't qualify but they do because of the algorithm. This is necessary to get the percentage of positive predictions to be equal between two groups. So it's blatantly saying we need to discriminate. They're not blatantly using the word discriminate, but they're blatantly saying we need to have two different thresholds. And even though it's going to make false positives and false negatives, even though it means that some men who should qualify now aren't going to qualify, it's justified and necessary because it's going to give us an equal outcome. So what that means is if you have a man earning $40,000 a year and a woman earning $40,000 a year, so equal, the man may not qualify, but the woman with the exact same salary might qualify. The problem with this math is that male billionaires like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Elon Musk, etc., really offset the mean. And if you have 100 people earning $1 a day, the average is $1 a day. Now let's say you add a billionaire. The 101st person earns $1 billion. The average is now going to go way higher than just $1 a day. But we know that the reality, the vast majority of men are only making that $1. So for the median man, for the average male worker earning $40,000 a year, the male billionaire is essentially irrelevant. But this algorithm will penalize him for being male. It'll take his maleness into account, and it'll calculate that because he's a man, his threshold should be higher, even though his $40,000 a year is identical to a woman's $40,000 a year. It's a very bad way to use math, and it's very concerning that Google's AI program is actually teaching this and encouraging this. And it makes you worry, what else could this be used for? What if this kind of AI algorithm, taking gender into account, is used to calculate, say, what is a fair hospital bill? What if a male earning $40,000 a year has a higher hospital bill just because he's male than a woman earning $40,000 a year? Imagine if this kind of system is applied to everything: cost of food, cost of insurance, prison sentencing, criminal justice. You can see how scary it can get. So anyway, this is just an introduction. I just wanted to show you this very quickly. I saw this morning and I see just how scary it can be. I will do a full breakdown. There will be more on this later, but I just wanted to put this out there and let you know what's going on and what to keep an eye on. So thank you very much. I'm Blue Orange 22.